I'm here with Dr. Tom Smiley from the Bartlett Tree Research Laboratory. We're out in this beautiful garden, and as our gardens are starting to awaken from spring, we had a lot of damage from this winter, and there's things that we should probably be looking at in our garden as from the damage and what to do.
Yes, we're going to start with nutrient deficiencies, and we just wanted to start looking at this tree, and we have a very light color here which could indicate a nutrient deficiency. There are other reasons for the light color, but that's one that we're concerned with. So to verify that, we could take a sample of the foliage or soil, or better yet both, have them analyzed and find out what nutrients are deficient.
Right.
Now here in the Portland area, we've done thousands of soil samples, so we have a pretty good idea of what's lacking. We see a lot of nitrogen deficiencies, usually caused by lack of organic matter in the soil, and we have a lot of soils that don't have enough potassium and manganese. So those are three of the common ones. Plus calcium is lacking in a lot of our soils. So it's hard to tell from landscape to landscape exactly what's going on there, which is why we like to take the samples. Now we send them into our own lab for diagnosis, but you can send them into the extension laboratories and get a good answer back. We always like to do that before we fertilize, so we're not putting on the wrong product or too much of a product. Too much of any fertilizer can contaminate the environment, especially things like phosphorus. We're very concerned about near fresh water. We can get blooms of algae if there's too much phosphorus. So most of our fertilizers don't even have phosphorus, and we encourage other people to not use phosphorus unless there's an absolute need for it. But find out what you need, put it on. At reasonable rates.
Right. It sounds like it's important to know kind of what you're lacking first, as opposed to just putting things on there that you might not.
Absolutely.
Are there symptoms in the plants? You talked about like some off-color foliage. So is there other symptoms that a plant may indicate that would show that it needs something?
Yes, they're usually color related, and this one is sort of an overall chlorotic or light color. Sometimes we'll see chlorosis between the veins. Sometimes we'll see marginal chlorosis or marginal necrosis, dying of the edges. Any of those can be a nutrient deficiency, but a lot of them can be other things as well. So doing the diagnostics is really a good place to start.
So you had mentioned chlorosis.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
Chlorosis is a lighter color, either light green like this tree, or yellowing of the foliage, so just a lighter color.
And is there, you talked about your service does a lot of the soil testing. For a homeowner, is there something that they can do to tell that, or is it best to have an expert come in? And
they can collect soil samples themselves and send them to the university laboratory, or foliar samples. Collect a bunch of leaves and send those in a bag full, say a quart of leaves, and send them in. Either way, you can get diagnosis from a lab. It takes a good laboratory, a plant diagnostic lab, to get those results too.
And and there's lots of different types of fertilizers out on the market. You go to the garden centers, and the shelves are full of those, and they're all very different. So once it sounds like once they know kind of what they need, is there appropriate techniques for applying fertilizers?
Yeah, there are a number of different ways of applying fertilizers. We can put dry granular fertilizers down. So if we have bare soil, that's a fine material to use, very easy to apply, very easy to measure. More professionals tend to use the liquids because they can go out more quickly, and again, a surface applied liquid on bare soil is fine. In the tree care business, we like to soil inject fertilizers so that the grass roots are not getting a lot of the fertilizer, and then if it's mulched, we can get it below the mulch, because the mulch will at least temporarily tie up the nutrients. So getting it into the soil is really good. And then if we're on slopes, and we have so many slopes around here, especially over water, the last thing we want are the fertilizers getting into water. So soil injecting on those slopes can be a safety factor, because again, we don't want fertilizers in water.
Right. So it sounds, may sound complicated to some people, but it's really not. If you understand the soil, what it needs or what it's
Yes.
lacking, and then
Yes.
finding, the appropriate fertilizers to put in there, and then the right techniques to applying that.
You got it.
And you guys have the services to be able to do all of that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So for more information on, the Bartlett Tree and their services, on how to fertilizer and how to prune, make sure you go to gardentime.tv and we'll click you over to their website. So, it's fascinating to learn about, what happens in our soil and what we need to make sure that our gardens thrive. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
today.